Good evening, everybody. I'm LOZCardsFan23, and tonight I'm going to be showing off something here with a classic game show video game for the NES, Wheel of Fortune. This is the very first one, which was developed by Rare and released back in 1987 or 1988. And I'm going to be showing off something that, as far as I'm concerned, there are no, at least known sources of wheel editors out here. Let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm just going to do a regular one-player game. This is, by the way, the standard version of Wheel of Fortune. So this is the wheel you guys are familiar with, the one with the normal values here, and I'm going to pause it so that you're not having to hear the wheel meter go up and down all day. But this is the wheel that you guys are familiar with in the NES version of Wheel of Fortune, again, developed by Rare. This is both used for the original, the Junior edition of Wheel of Fortune, and also the Family edition of Wheel of Fortune. Now, wheel has 24 different values. And as you can see, this is the wheel that is used for all 3 rounds. It does not change. So you don't get to see, any of the other dollar amounts. You don't get to see a $5,000 space. The top dollar value on the wheel is $1,000. But what if I were to show you this file right here? So again, this is the same game. This is Wheel of Fortune, right? I'm going to begin another game. I'll put my name in. Alright, we're looking for a title, and I'm sure some of you already noticed the difference on the bottom left that says $550. Well, take a look at this wheel, folks. Totally different from what you see in the vanilla game, and it's definitely spinnable. Top dollar value is $5,000. Again, I'm going to pause it, and as you can see, the dollar values are different from what you see in the traditional game that you've been accustomed to play for more than 30 years on the NES. But you're probably wondering, how was he able to do this? How was he able to change the dollar amounts on the wheel like that? Let's go back to the original file. So again, this is the original vanilla game, the classic Wheel of Fortune. So again, I'm going to do a traditional game. Now, I am going to pause it here. Now, some of you may know, who are definitely savvy people trying to look up ways to hack ROMs and whatnot, is that there were many different wedges stored in memory that are not used into the game. You may have seen this on the Cutting Room Floors website for the NES version of Wheel of Fortune, is that there are several different wedge values that are in the game's memory, but they are not used. Now, in order for me to have figured out how I was able to determine where those values are, is that they were talking about one value in specific. And, I was just fiddling around with the Wheel of Fortune NES ROM here, and one of the values that they mention is 0C. 0C is the $1,000 space. Now, when I looked up 0C in the hex editor, by the way, this hex editor here that you're seeing right here, this hex editor that you see right here, this is the NES memory. So these are just temporary values. If I were to stick values in here, they would change on the spot, but they would not be permanent changes here. There's a different place where you can make these same different changes here. When I did a search for 0C, there were only 2 spots. This was one of those spots right here in row 000-3F0. And the 0C right here does represent $1,000. In fact, I'm going to tell you where the cutoff is here on this hex editor. It is right here. And if I highlight this, all right, so as you can see, I have the 32 highlighted right here. So that is going to be the start of the wheel. That 32, by the way, represents the $750 space that's right next to the $800 space. As you know, there are 24 wedges on the Wheel of Fortune here. So this line right here are the first 5 values of the wheel going from 750 and going clockwise. We have 5. And if you look at the next row in 000-400, these are the next 16 values. And then if you go to the next row, 000-410, the next 3 are your last 3 values of the wheel. I'm going to go ahead and bookmark this. That is the cutoff here. So 32 here represents 750. Next door is the B3, which is your $800 space. AE is your 300. Of course, as you can see here again, the AE is right there. That's the 300 that's in between the 400 and the 200. So if you read the values from left to right in row 000-3F0, and that's beginning with the 12th row, 12th column, those are your wheel values. In fact, I'm going to tell you what the wheel values are. So B3 is your 800, AE is 300, AD is 200, 0C, as I have been discussing earlier, is your $1,000 space. B0 is 500, AF is 400, AE is the 300, AD is the 200, and the B7 is your free spin space. We have B2, which is 700, AD, which is 200, 2C, which is 150, AF, which is your $400 space again, just like this AF right here. B6 is the lose a turn. AD is 200 again. AF is 400. 2D is 250. There's the 2C, which is 150, just like this 2C here, which is also the 150. AF is going to be your 400 again. B1 is your 600. 2D is 250. 2E is 350. And the B8 is the Bankrupt. Then after that, of course, we are back to the 750. And again, that's why I have bookmarked these pieces of code here in the hex editor under the NES memory. Now, those of you who might be fans of Wheel of Fortune probably know that the wedge next to the lose turn is supposed to be 450. So if I were to change, by the way, again, the lose turn is your B6. If I were to change the AF to 2F and unpause it, watch this. I now have $450 as the wedge value next to the lose turn. And that is an authentic $450. If I land on that space, the game is going to award me $450. Now, another example here. For those of you who may have been fans of Wheel of Fortune during the syndicated times, during, let's say, around the early to mid 90s. Now that 150 that's next to the 450, you may recall, was raised to $500. So again, we just did the 2F for the 450. Remember that the 2C is $150. But if I were to change that to B0, I just did right there, and I unpause it, it's now $500, not $150. But those are just some simple changes right there. What if I were to tell you there's a whole mess of different changes on this wheel? In fact, wheel values that haven't existed for a long time or weren't around back then. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, there are many different values on this wheel. I mean, you know about the custom ones, the regular ones that are on the vanilla game of Wheel of Fortune that you may have played many, many times. Well, there are different ROM values, and again, you want to make sure that you change these values within those two green boundaries here. So again, this is the start point, and this is the end point. So you don't want to change any of the other values that are outside of these boundaries, otherwise your game might stop working. We don't want that. So let's take a look at the different values here, and I'm going to just go ahead and go over, various different ones. So I'm going to leave the 32 as is. I'm going to leave that as 750, but I'm going to change the B3 to AC. That is going to be $100, which is a space that you may have seen during either the Bob Goen version of Wheel of Fortune, which was the daytime version from 1989 to 1991, or anytime during the daytime version, starting in 1975 and working your way up. So, bet you didn't think that space was in this game. Again, once I unpause this, I'm going to unveil all of those spaces here. And everything that I'll have done up to this point will be changed instantaneously right before your eyes. Now I'm going to change the next one, the AE, that's $300. We're going to change that to 30. Change that to 30. It's going to be $550. Then I'm going to change this $200 space to 31, which is $650, a value that was last seen in 1979 until it was brought back in the current syndicated version of Wheel of Fortune. I believe it was 2012. And we have 3. Change that 0C. So where that $1,000 space is, that is going to be changed to $850, which again is a space that hadn't been seen in Wheel of Fortune since the Chuck Woolery days, but was recently brought back this season on the syndicated version of Wheel of Fortune that's in nighttime, still hosted by Pat Sajak. So B0 is the 500. I'm going to change that. Now, these spaces that I'm about to put here are glitchy. The incorrect value shows up on the wheel in terms of the graphic design. For these next two that I'm going to do, I'm going to change B0 to B4. That is going to be 900. It will act normally when you land on the space, but you'll notice that the graphic is going to be incorrect. Then we have AF, which of course is 400. I'm going to change that to 34. That's going to be $950. Again, it's going to look glitched out, but it's going to act normally once you land on that space. Then we have the AE, which was $300. But I'm going to change that space. I'm going to be changing that space into B5. That is another $1,000 space that has been programmed into the game. But again, that one is glitched out, not just in the graphic look, but also in what you're going to see in the wheel value. But I can assure you, if you land on that space, it is going to award you $1,000 appropriately. Then we have the AD, which is 200. I'm going to change that to 3.5, which is a very unusual amount. It's $1,050. But again, it's going to look wrong when you see it on the wheel value. And but it was still going to award you $1,050 like it's supposed to. Then we have the free spin. I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to leave the special spaces the way they're supposed to be. Then we have some other spaces. So you know about 0C being $1,000. And $1,000 is the top dollar value in the game. What if I could tell you, put more money into the game, you know, not just $1,000. Well, I'm going to change this B2 here. That's going to be 0D, which is going to be $2,000. About this AD right here. Now we're going to change that. I want this to be different. So we're going to do 0E, and that'll be 3,000. It's B0, which was that $500 that I had replaced earlier. Let's make it 0F. That's going to be $4,000. The 2F, that was our 450 that I had just put in there. Well, we're going to say bye-bye to that. We're going to replace it with 10. That is your $5,000 space. B6 is your lose a turn. I'm going to leave that alone. So AD, which is the 200, let's change that to 1, 1. That's going to be 6,000. Change this AF here to 1, 2. It's going to be 7,000. I'm going to change this 2D here to 1, 3. It's 8,000. This 2C, I'm going to change this to 9,000 or 1, 4. Change this AF to 1, 5. This one is going to be a $10,000. Now this and the $9,000 space graphically are going to look glitched, but the 9,000 value will show up normally on the top right, but the 10,000 will not. However, the game will still credit you with the $10,000. And the last space that I want to show off, so we're going to place this B1 here, which was $600. I'm going to replace this with, actually I've already done it. We have this AC here next to the 750. So those are all of the different spaces that you can program. So again, you are limited with your choices. So sadly, when you do these wheel wedge edits, you have no $1,500 space, there's no $2,500 space, and there's no $3,500 space like there is on any of the incarnations of Wheel of Fortune that you might be accustomed to. So now, I'm going to hit the pause button and we watch the changes. Look at all the changes that I've got here. So the only ones I didn't change were the 600, the 250, the 350, and the 750. But everything else on this wheel is different from the values that I've advertised. And you notice the ones with the blue and yellow splotches there, those are the ones that have the incorrect graphics. Again, there is no 9 graphic on here. So let's take a look at the wheel and watch the values. And there's $900. Now again, it's glitched out, but the game is still going to award me $900. Is there an S? There's an S on the end. There's my $900. So again, it's glitched out on the wheel, but it's still going to award me the $900. Let's spin again and show it off again. Look at that, $3,000, something that you wouldn't see on today's version of Wheel of Fortune. How about a T? 2 T's, and look, I got a nice total, $6,900. I didn't plan this, folks, just to let you guys know. Let's show it off one more time. Now there's some big bucks, $8,000. Can I cash in? What an R. Well, ain't that a pity? There's no R, so I don't get my $8,000. How about one more time? $7,000. How about an N? Look at that. I now have $27,900. I'm going to solve the puzzle. It's Beethoven's Ninth. Nope, not Beethoven's Ninth, but Beethoven's Ninth. Look at that, $27,900, an unheard of total if you were playing the vanilla game. And as long as these wheel values are here, they're going to stay unless I make some changes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the game. We're going to reset the values back to the way they were. And I'm now going to demonstrate how we're able to save certain values here. But first, we're going to close this out. I'm going to bring it back up, so we'll bring that hex editor back up again for you. That right now. So again, everything is reset back to the way it was. The 32 with the 750, the B3 with the 800, the AE with the 300, etc., etc. Now I'm going to show you how to save the information. So here's the demonstration I'm going to do here for this little example here. So again, we are back to the normal wheel that you would see in the vanilla game. The values have been restored. Let's make the wheel, let's cheapen up the wheel a little bit and make it so that it looks exactly like the daytime version from, I believe, 1986 to 1989. So what we need to do is change some wheel values. So the first one that needs to be changed is the B3, because that's the $800, but I want that to be the $500 space. So we'll change that to B0. And the 0C, which is normally the $1,000 in nighttime, was just a paltry $100 in daytime. So I want AC. Then there is a $700 space. That is B2. Need to change that to $100 as well. AC. Finally, we need to change that $400 space that's next to the lose a turn, which was AF. We need to change that to 2F. Now, if I unpause, I now have the daytime version of Wheel of Fortune from 1986 to 1989. I have that wheel. Now, let's spin it just to show it off. $500 for this wheel, that's pretty good. We'll take a T. Now, I am going to pause this because now you're probably wondering, how can you make these changes permanent to the file? Well, again, I'm going to highlight the correct number, so we're going to bookmark this, not that. Again, that's where the wheel values start. Again, that's row 0003F0. And it ends with this bankrupt here on row 000410. That's column number 3. Highlight that. Those are the values I am worried about right now. So, I'm going to copy and paste. So we're going to copy these values here. I'm going to paste this onto a document here. You can do this on any document here. You're going to want to paste these values. Now you want to go to the ROM. Now, how do I know where these values are within the ROM itself? Okay, so how I was able to locate this is the normal values on the wheel are 750 and 800, which is 32 for the 750 and B3 for the $800 space. So I'm going to go to the ROM file itself. Now, I will tell you that the location varies depending on whether you're using the classic version of Wheel of Fortune, the Junior Edition, or the Family Edition. Oh, by the way, I should have probably mentioned that regarding the hex editor. You start again with the row 0003F0, okay? Do that with the classic version like you've seen here. You also do that with the Junior Edition, but in the Family Edition, it's actually starting on address row 000480. Now again, I'm using FCEUX, the latest version that's currently out, which is version 2.5.0. So the strategies may vary depending on which kind of emulator that you are using here. Now, to make the changes permanent to the ROM, I need to find where 32B3 is. Now, I know where it is, but in case you guys can't find it, let's do a search here. So I want to look for the text that says 32B3. And there it is. It's row 0007F0, beginning with the very first column. If I scroll down just a little bit, I will prove to you that these are the correct values. 32, that's 750. B3 is 800. AE is 300. AD is 200. 0C is 1000. B0 is 500, etc., etc. Now, first 16, right here in this row. And let's bookmark this. And then that final bankrupt. Go to the second row, row 000800. I want this B8. This is the bankrupt space here. Bookmark that. And that is where the wheel ends. Those are the values I want to be focusing on right here. So I had copied the values here. So if I take what I have copied here, and I paste it right here. As you can see, these items that are in red, that is what I have pasted on to the ROM itself. Now those values have all changed. In fact, I do believe the items that are in this goldenrod color that you see, the B0, AC, this AC, and the 2F, those are the ones that have changed. It's the ones that are in red are the ones that are the same from the copy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this. And I'm going to save this under the file name. Let's just do round 1 daytime. So I'm going to call this wheel FR1 daytime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this out. I'm going to bring back the original again, okay? Again, this is the original file. You're going to see that the changes aren't saved. I just want to do that to show it off. As you can see, it's the regular wheel again. But now, let's see what happens if I go to the new file that I saved, one that I titled Wheel of Fortune Round 1 Daytime. And you've probably already noticed that that 800 that you'd see has been changed to 500. And there it is, folks. The values have been permanently changed. If I open up the hex editor, if I go to the right row, you'll notice that the values are perfect, the way that they're supposed to be. And every time I open up this file, those are the values that they're going to be. So if there's ever a wheel that you want to do kind of customized, all you'd have to do is take the rows again. I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to add this bookmark here. I'm going to pause this so that we don't have to listen to that, of course. Again, this is in row 3F. Add our bookmark. And the B8, if you recall, is our bankrupt space. What you would do is you would choose the desired values that are within the range. And you can't use other values because it'll just glitch out the wheel and it won't work. Only use the values that I have discussed during this demonstration, at least to my knowledge. Now, if somebody who's a much better coder and programmer than I am knows how to make different values appear, be my guest, I must say. So, I have a prepared thread here. I'm going to change this right now. So I have one that I have pre-made here. And again, fans of the Wheel of Fortune game show will probably be familiar with the values that I'm going to put here, say for a couple of changes here. Now everything has changed, and here is the end result that we get. Now, that's right, folks. For those of you who may be familiar with the syndicated version of Wheel of Fortune between about 1988 and 1996, this is your round 3 layout with just a couple of differences. Since there's no $3,500 space, I used 3,000. Since the $900 spaces look glitched out, I used an $800 space next to the 3,000 and an $850 where the other 900 would be. So you can change the values right on the spot. Oh, there's $850. How about an S? There we go. Now again, this is under the NES memory here. This is not under the ROM file, so these changes will not stay permanent once I exit. If I exit the program and load up the file again, it's going to go back to those daytime round 1 values. Let's change up the wheel again, though. Same round, remind you. But now I'm going to change it up. Again, I want to take this is, by the way, this is a prepaid, or not prepaid, but pre-made of configurations that I have here. So I'm going to copy the pre-made configuration that I've just done. Now look at what we've got. So now we've got the $5,000 space on the wheel. I have $2,000 because, again, there's no $1,500 space built into the program, so I just did the best that I could given the resources. Let's spin this round. If that doesn't say game knows, I don't know what does. Oh well. Well, let's change it again. So now I have another pre-made set of values. So again, we're going to go where it's bookmarked, this AD. Now look at what I've got. Now it's back to the way it was, except I have a $2,000 space. No free spin. I've replaced that with 500. The 450, how it's supposed to be, is there. And since there's no $2,500 space, I use $2,000. Same thing with no... Again, there is a $900 space, but it looks glitched out. Let's spin. How about a T? There are 2 T's. About that. And we'll buy an E. I'm going to spin, but we're going to change the wheel again. We're going to change it back to the round 3 values. You could do it right there. You don't have to have the game paused. I just wanted to have it paused for dramatic effect and so that you didn't have to listen to the meter this whole time. Alright, avoided the bankrupt. About an R. Alright, let's spin one more time because there's one more consonant. Close to the 1,000. Take the N. And we'll solve it. State Senator. right, so again, we have the wheel values on there. If I wanted to make this configuration permanent, I would take these values here. I would copy them. And again, I would go to the ROM file itself. So we are in NES memory. Switch it to ROM value. Now, where you need to go differs depending on which version you are using. So for example, if you're using the original version of Wheel of Fortune, it would start on row 0007F0, column number 1. In the junior version, you start at address 000730, row 12, or column 12, I should say. In the family edition, you start at address 000710, and it would be column number 15 of 16. And again, need to know where it is. All you have to do is look up those two character numbers, 32B3. That's the original setup of the wheel values. Again, 32 is your 750, B3 is your 800. You're changing it from one that you've already changed. You want to make sure you know what those first two values are so that you're able to find it. Again, in the original game, it's address 0007F0, and it would be row number 1, column number 1, where I have it highlighted right now. Using the junior edition, it's address 000730, column number 12. Doing the family edition, it is 000710, column number 15. So let's take these values. I'm going to copy, paste them right here. Those have changed. Now I'm going to save this again. Call it around 3 nighttime. All right, I'm going to close this file. I'm going to open up the one that I just made. And when I start the game, spin the wheel, and the values that I applied are now permanent. There's your round 3 values permanently onto the wheel. $5.50. S? Nope, there's no S. What could this person be? I'm spinning all these cupcake amounts here. Alright, there's a letter, but I don't have enough money to buy a vowel, so I must spin again. $4.50. Again, an amount that's not in the vanilla game. No T's. Not surprised. For some reason, when I play Wheel of Fortune, persons typically don't have the letter T. Why? That's just the way it is. Just missed the Bankrupt. Ah, now I know what it is. Aaron Burr. Let's solve this puzzle. Alrighty. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the demonstration of how to change the wedge values on your Wheel of Fortune game. I'm LOZ Cards Fan 23, and thanks for watching.